Hello, welcome. This is the Resilient Rooster. I'm back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today I'm going to be showcasing Ancient Gear. So Ancient Gear is a machine type deck, and it's based on OTKing your opponent. A lot of their cards have effects where you can't activate anything during the battle phase, so it's like your best opportunity to OTKing your opponent. This deck used to be a lot consistent when there was Zoo, since you could do the fusion sub combo and draw a lot of cards and then fusion summon and basically win the game. But since Zoos are banned and Norden's banned, it's kind of, a little bit inconsistent, but they have been getting a little bit new support. They have the Ancient Gear Fusion, which is a awesome card if you have a golem on the field, but it's kind of hard to have a golem on the field. I would say like the best way is probably with elemental hero cards and just sending it and copying the name. But besides that, I don't want to use the hero cards for now. I just want to pure build and just see how it works. So this is my deck list right now. Feel free to change, and let's get right on to the replays. Whenever you're playing Ancient Gears, you usually want to go second to get that 6th card to help the OTK. The problem of going second is your opponent could establish a big board and it'll be like kind of impossible to get over. And that's why when you're kind of deck building, you want to have cards that can bait out negations or be just board wipe in general. You could run cards like Evenly Matched to, clear the board, but if your opponent, saves the negate for the right time, it's kind of hard for you to make a comeback. So I decided just to not run Evenly Matched, but it's definitely possible. So I was able to get rid of my opponent's Mecha Ball through, my catapults. They did ash my Gear Town in the grave, but I was able to work with what I had. Also, Ancient Gear Fortress is a good card in this deck. It basically reads your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Ancient Gear. So my opponent couldn't negate my Wyvern because of the Fortress. So I was safe in just searching my plays for next turn. Since the card I searched also had Ancient Gear, I'll be able to get another beat stick. So I'll use Ancient Gear, destroy the catapult, and I'm not sure why I summoned the Hound with it. I probably should have searched the beat stick, but I think it didn't matter because I would have been able to get rid of the Mecha Boss since they have a Invoker in the hand, which gives them an additional boost. So I tried to use the Kaiju Slumber, but it got negated. But I did, bait out one card, so at least I'm not negging as much. So next, I basically tried to fusion summon. That way, I could make the Ancient Gear Howitzer and basically just sit on it. I know that they can't negate me since they can't activate cards in response because Ancient Gear Fortress is a boss. At this point, I'm just stalling and hopefully getting the right cards I need. And I think I have a lot of cards in the graveyard, so at any point if I draw Overload Fusion, I could possibly win the game. So right now I'm just trying to deck in as much as I can. I summon the Wyverns, keep searching. They can't stop me since the Fortress is on the field. And then if somehow Fortress is destroyed, I can special summon from the graveyard, so it's kind of cool. So at that point I had a lot of cards, so I just Ancient Gear Fusion, and at this point my opponent is kind of in the danger zone. This monster can pierce, so basically I'm one attack away from just winning the game. And they didn't draw an out, or they didn't have an out. Basically the only way to out it is by monster effects or by just attacking over it. So my opponent, they couldn't do both, so I was able just to attack for game. This next duel, I'm dueling against Infernoids. And Infernoids, they had access to Void Beast through Banishment. That basically means they have 2 negates. They even have the Decatron to normal summon, so essentially they have 3 negates. The only thing that was good for me is since they had Arnaku in hand, they couldn't send it with Decatron, so they only have 1 spell negation and 2 monster effects negation. So I was able to bait out the Raigeki, or the spell and trap negation with Raigeki, and I thought I was lucky with Pot of Desires, but they had the Ash for that. So I was kind of in a sticky situation, but I was able to use the catapult to destroy the Gear Town and get 2 beast monsters on the field. I could have made True King of all Calamities, but unfortunately I didn't run it in this deck. But if I did, it would have stopped a lot of their plays since they wouldn't be able to do what they're doing right now. So I was kind of, sad that I didn't have it at the time, but I know in the future that I will probably run the True King of all calamities just in case things like this happen. And right now it's kind of like a beatdown mode. I try to use the Ancient Gear Fusion but then negated it, so it's kind of like a back and forth battle right now. All I'm kind of like, all I need to do now is OTK before they use the grass. So fortunately for me, I had the catapult in my graveyard from the previous turn and I was able to get rid of their cards. So it's kind of like a back and forth battle right now. They got the snow, but the snow is not stronger than the reactor dragon. And I'm kind of lucky since they already have 5 cards in the graveyard, so this snow shouldn't be doing as much as it should. And 3k defense is kind of good too. That means that the only way that they can get rid of me is through like their Onuku. I got greedy this turn. I should have probably just attacked since they only had 2550 and they can't activate any cards in the battle phase. But I thought that they would activate snow and sort of slow me down. And I think this was kind of a bad play on my part, since I had the resource enough to just win the game. And now they got the grass looks greener off and they're in a very good position. They got a lot of cards just to banish from snow and to summon their Infernoid cards. They got the Onuku, they got rid of my cards. And I think what they should have done was banish this with Fairy Tail Snow, summon their other cards and just spam the board and hopefully, you know, win the game. I did have the Book of Moon to save me though, so that was kind of fortunate for me. And my opponent should have activated Fairy Tail Snow before I ended my battle phase, but I think they couldn't do it because they didn't hold A. So I got lucky through other game mechanics. In this next game, I'm playing against dinosaurs and they get to go first. So it's like a recurring theme. Try to go second and try to break their board. But unfortunately for me, this game, I think it was just too much. They were able to do all their plays on like without, you know, hesitation. I didn't have a hand trap to stop them. They were able to get the Skull Dread. They got the True King of all calamities, and True King of all calamities is good in just stopping all my cards from doing anything. And they were able to, on top of that, make the Logia to negate spells and traps, and they had the Overtext to negate another spell. So even if I had 2 spells, I couldn't use any of them, and at this point I think it was just kind of too hard for me to make a comeback. I basically just summoned a monster and just pass. But I know that it was already over from the get-go. They had the True King of all calamities, so they could just tribute my monsters and just attack for game. So yeah. In these last few replays, I played against non-competitive decks, and one of them was the Blue Eyes. So they didn't open up strong. All they had was an alternative white dragon. So I was kind of happy because I could just do anything I want. I tried to use my Ancient Gear frame, but they Ghost Ogre, which was a bad mistake since I could special summon anything from my hand, which was the Ancient Gear Golem. And if I have Ancient Gear Golem, it basically means that you can use Ancient Gear Fusion and actually use cards from your deck and not the hand. So it basically made it to where I can go off and just attack for game. So this was a super quick one. In this last replay, I'm playing against Fluffles and they get to go first. They have the patchwork, so their deck is a little bit more consistent than my Ancient Gear is. But I think all they landed on was a Kraken, which is kind of like a bad field. It's still 3k defense, so it's kind of hard to get over. But for the most part, they don't have any disruption, so I felt confident. They did have the Ash for the Catapult, which kind of ruined things. But if you're ever in trouble in getting a monster, I think Howitzer is like the best one. So if you go first, Howitzer is the play because it sets up your future plays. I do have the Book of Moon, so it prevents like some OTKs. Because if Howitzer leaves the field, you can basically special summon one Ancient Gear monster from their deck, ignoring its summoning condition. So my opponent, if they ever have like get over it, I can summon any 3k beat stick, and hopefully they don't have anything over 3k. My opponent has 2, but I chained Book of Moon to flip them defense mode, and I was able to out basically 2 monsters, the Saber Tiger and Saber Tooth and the Kraken. And now I basically can just go off. So I basically try to see if I can get any more pieces before I overload fusion, and at this point it was pretty much game over. I can attack through all their monsters with the Gear Giant and attack for game with Reactor Dragon. So that's it for the replays. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content, please click the subscribe button. Thank you for watching and have a great day.